ready to go now.
I'm Olivia Feckner, I'm 18 and I've just finished school, so I'm in between jobs.
Great, great. Do you have any religious or spiritual beliefs?
I don't really know yet, not really sure, but I hope to one day sort of like explore a more spiritual sort of path in life, but right now I just don't really know, just floating through.
So you couldn't really sort of explain what it is that you're feeling and experiencing in that regard at the moment?
I guess I feel like I just don't have enough information about like any sort of religion, because I've never really been brought up in any sort of religious context, even though like my grandparents are very religious and my father is very religious, but I don't see him very much, and yeah, I just have never really been around it. I've never really been around spiritually inclined people, and I would like to be, but yeah.
Right. So has there been anything have you ever confronted death before, or anything like, has there been anything that's made you kind of assisted you in your beliefs? Like, assisted you in coping with death, I mean, in some way?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, my first memory that I ever have is playing with my nana's fingers after she died. And she died when I was 3, and I didn't know that she was dead at the time. I was just like holding my nan's hand, playing with her fingers, but like as I grew up, I was told and I understood that I was sitting there playing with her hands after she died.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess another thing that helps me deal with death is I have type 1 diabetes.
Okay.
So every time I have like a hypoglycemic episode or something goes wrong, it's like, I could die every day.
Right. Do you believe that consciousness can exist separate from the body? Or does the consciousness come from the body?
I actually did philosophy at school, and this was a big physicalist verse. And I would like to think so, but at the same time I think it's just my brain tricking me into thinking it's more fantastic than it is. I think, it's like I know biologically we're just chemicals and just this all up here, but, it feels different. So that's what I mean, like, I don't know. I hope so.
We all hope so, I think. What are your views on assisted suicide?
I'm all for it.
All for it?
Yeah, if someone's quality of life is so diminished that they don't even want to live anymore, and they're in the right frame of mind to make that decision, then I think death is a really liberating thing.
Do you feel that suicide or assisted suicide is a reasonable option for someone who's experiencing mental and emotional pain?
That's a tricky question. I think that's a very sort of different thing, because
You don't have to have an answer for that as well. That's perfectly fine.
I've just never thought about that before.
Yeah.
Because obviously physical, like, ailments and stuff, you sort of think they're a bit different to, like, mental illness and mental ailments, and you sort of like to think that everyone can be happy and get better, but if that's not an option, then it's a bit of a grey area.
It's a bit of a grey area, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, well, that was great, actually. Okay. How do you feel that society as a whole approaches the topic of death?
I think generally every, like, day to day it's sort of, like, not dealt with because it's not happening to anyone in the day to day, really. I suppose the only time it's really confronted is if someone gets sick, or if, there is a real tragedy. Like, you see it when, like in Melbourne in Swanston Street, when I think it was last year in January when all those people died when that guy hit them with a car. The whole of Australia and the whole pretty much of the world came together for it. But then, like day to day when someone dies, it's just like, it's almost like a part of life. Well, it is a part of life, but it's like a part of everyday life that people don't really look at unless it happens to them or someone they know.
Is there anything that you feel that you need to achieve before you die in order to die happy?
I think just being happy.
Just being happy?
Yeah, if I was just happy every day, doing things that I liked, being around people I love and making other people happy, then I could die tomorrow.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Great. Have you personally ever had a near-death experience? You were talking previously a bit about diabetes?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I think when I was first diagnosed was probably the most near-death you can get, I guess, because I'd just come back from Thailand and it was pretty much within 12 hours. I was in the ICU and I was there for like 2-3 weeks.
How old were you?
I was 14.
14.
Yeah. And like I can hardly remember it now, but I was just, it was like I was all in my, I remember I was laying there and I could think everything and I was trying to respond and everything, but I just physically couldn't, and it was so scary and I genuinely thought I was going to die because I was dying. My body was dying. And it's just crazy to think back and look now because like I'm fine now and I'm going on living my life, but it's like if I had left it then I wouldn't be alive right now.
Right. Has that affected you? How has that affected you? I guess you sort of like explained on it, but if you can, I'd really like if you can sort of expand on that.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that was sort of like the pivotal experience with death in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like I said, since then, every time I have a hypo or hypoglycemic episode or something, like I don't have enough sugar in my blood, I don't have enough energy, so everything starts to shut down. And it's like, you know, everything could affect it. Like if I have too much water today, I could have a hypo. If I go walking, I could have a hypo. If I don't eat enough, if I give myself a little bit too much, if I oversleep, if it gets too hot, it's like constant management of keeping myself alive. It's like my body's manual, not automatic. So it's like...
Does it happen very often?
Yeah, every day.
Every day?
Pretty much.
Right, so there's this constant risk there every single day.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it's like I have this needle as well that I carry with me everywhere, and it's sort of like an EpiPen, but it's like if I collapse somewhere, I hope someone will find it and like help me. But yeah, there's no guarantee of that either.
Yeah,
so.
like I'm woefully don't know much about diabetes at all, so I'm sorry about that. Everyone should probably be a bit more aware about it, I suppose.
Yeah, I think that's the thing as well, because like when I say, oh yeah, I could die every day, people are like, oh, what? Like I say it to my mum every time I have a hypo, I'm like, oh, I'm dying.
Yeah.
And she's like, don't say that.
Yeah, yeah.
But like it's true.
Wow. Yeah, I've never even looked at that. So I'm learning things here myself as well. Like I've just never, like I had a cousin who was had diabetes, and I knew he had a pen and stuff, but I didn't really know much more about it.
Yeah, not many people do, and I think that's also another topic. It's like death. It's like chronic diseases. People don't really know how to approach it because they don't really know about it unless it happens to them.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely true. All right. So you were saying that your grandmother died. How many people have you known that have died? Is it just your grandmother, or have you known some other people that have died as well?
I have. I was thinking about this last night actually when I was thinking about the kind of questions you might ask. Probably between like 5 to 10 close people to me.
Wow.
I've known. Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Know a lot of old people.
Yeah. A lot of old people? Yeah.
So there was my grandmother and then her husband, my grandfather, as well.
Yeah.
There was a whole story about his death as well. He was in palliative care for 2 weeks.
Right.
There was my mum's best friend. He died of cancer. He was like a lifelong smoker. He was like a puffing billy, honestly. There was his mother as well. My friend's baby.
Right.
My mum's boss. And my other grandfather.
I don't want to push you or anything,
No,
but
that's okay.
is there any of those people that you would actually like to discuss?
All of them, really. I don't mind.
It's up to you.
If
You just want to go on a lengthy, just topic about it, just get anything off your chest, that's perfectly okay.
Well, yeah, like I said with my grandma, it's like she's my first memory of like playing with her fingers. And it's weird, it's such a vivid memory, and I don't know if I've like played it in my head so much because it was like the last time that I saw her, or if, it's all made up in my head, but like I vividly remember ordering her fingers based on how much dirt was under them and looking at my mum and being like, why are you crying in the corner? And she said it's because she's not going to see you go to school. And I was like 3 or 4. I didn't know what that was. I was just like, oh, I don't know what school is. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to keep playing with my nan's fingers.
Yeah.
And then her husband, he died when I was 8. And he was in palliative care for 2 weeks. He lived with us for my whole life pretty much until he died, because he'd had a few strokes and like had dementia and heart attacks and everything, and he was German, and he hung on for a long time, long time. And even in palliative care, they were like, he's just like, he's fighting, like he's staying. And it's actually like one of the biggest regrets of my life, because I was like 8 and it was the school holidays and it was summer, and I was like, I feel so guilty because I remember feeling so bored sitting there. And the day that he actually died I remember I was feeling so bored, so I went and I watched TV, and then someone came out and told me he died.
Right.
And I think to make me feel better, people just said that like, oh, he chose to go when you weren't there, so you didn't see it. But still.
Wow.
Yeah. Do you want me to go on about anybody else? Or like...
Absolutely. Like only if you want. Like I'm trying to get as much out of people as I possibly can. Like, so, I don't want to push you too far. You put your own limits and boundaries in place. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, just if you want to keep going, absolutely.
I have no limits, no boundaries, ask me anything.
Awesome. Well, then I'd like to hear more about the people that you were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, keep going.
And I suppose my friend's baby that died, that's, I think, more of a taboo subject than elderly people that die. Because, if a child dies, it's like,
yeah,
hardly even have a chance to live. Which is, like, even more of a reason to grieve. And I think this happened about 2 years ago. She's 22 now. But, yeah, she has another son now. And he's fine. He's living. He's nearly 1, but her baby would be nearly 3 by now. And she still has, like, birthdays for her and, like, anniversaries of her death for her, like, parties. And, like, she has this big bookshelf in her house of, like, photos of her and all these sayings and all these candles. And she lights the candles every night and talks to her. And I think, even though it's sad, that's sort of, like, a really beautiful connection to have still to someone. But it's tragic, but that's life.
It is. It's life. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about anyone else, or would you like to move on to another question?
Would you like to hear about anyone else?
I feel like I should probably take more of a charge here, I guess. All right, we'll move on to another question, I think. So, for you, what do you feel would be the ideal way to die? Would be
Peacefully in my sleep.
Peacefully in your sleep?
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a very common answer. I think a lot of people really want that sort of, Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's sort of the sign of, like, living a long, fulfilling life, you know, you're happy and you're peaceful, just drift away when you're ready. But I don't know, realistically, I think as long as it's quick and I don't feel it, then that's fine.
And what would you like to happen to your body once you die?
I want to be cremated.
Cremated?
I've thought about this a lot, actually.
Yeah?
It's a bit weird to say, but I just, if our consciousness is disconnected from our bodies, or if there is some kind of sentience after we die, I don't want to be stuck in a box. I don't want to be contained. I hate like small spaces, and even though I know that I think that I'm not gonna know about it, it's still just the thought of being like that. I don't like it. And I don't like bugs, and I don't like dirt. I just don't want it.
Do you want your ashes spread particularly anywhere?
Yes. I also don't want to be contained in like a little one of those urns on the fireplace, like on the mantle, just to be gawked at and looked at. I'd rather be dust out. Sentient dust doing and seeing things.
Do you mind if I ask where you want to be spreaded, or do you not know yet?
Anywhere.
Anywhere?
I think just
anywhere in the world?
Yeah.
Excellent. Absolutely excellent.
I mean, it'll be like little particles of dust. I'll probably end up everywhere.
Yeah. So you sort of touched on it briefly before, but I'll ask it in a more sort of direct question. What do you think happens after you die?
Something, I hope.
Something?
I hope that something nice.
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't think anyone gets like sent to purgatory or hell or anything like that. I think, you know, sometimes being on earth is punishment enough, but
just hope for something nice.
yeah.
Are you afraid to die?
Yes.
What is it that scares you? Is it the physical act of dying itself, or is it the potential consequences afterwards?
I think it's neither of those really. It's just the fact that now that I've had consciousness and had sentient thought, it's like I just can't imagine not existing, and I don't really want to not exist, and I don't think I think most people really want to not exist. And it's like, I know I've not existed for billions of years, and I know I'm not going to exist for billions of years. You know, I just have like a 70, 80 year time slot, but it's like, you know, I can't imagine just not thinking and not feeling and not experiencing things, and I want to. Am I talking too much at the end?
No, not at all. That just about wraps it all up.
Yeah?
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing that.
That's okay.
I hope I didn't push you too far
No, not at all.
or anything like that. Yeah, I really, really appreciate you coming down and doing this for me.
No worries.
Cheers. I'll just turn that off now.